Hello, YouTube! Back with the pop culture update. Now that I have all the morning and afternoon to myself, I have been getting more stuff done. Not that I'm happy about that. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I'd rather be home at night, spending time with my family rather than at work at night. But this is my life now, so I've just got to fucking deal with it, right? But anyways, let's get to the stuff that I have gotten done over this last few weeks or however long it's been. First up, a new series of books I discovered I didn't go last time I was there. Marvel Untold. They're telling these tales of some more minor, some more major characters, but origins, stuff like that, stuff you may not know. So, first up, I was like, which one did I do first? Yeah. The Harrowing of Doom, which is all about Dr. Doom. So, in Latveria, the land that he rules over, I did not realize this, but every year he takes on the forces of hell in a duel and always loses. And the reason he does this is because Mephisto has arranged this duel to happen every year, and Doom is eager to engage in it every year and try and find a way to win, even though he knows he really can't, because Mephisto is the one responsible for trapping Doom's mom's soul in hell after she made a mistake and caused lots of deaths, even though her intentions were good. And they don't go into what actually happened in that, but that's the whole reason behind this thing. So he's got a plan, and the plan is to recruit Maria von Helm, who is a former friend of his mom's, and she's a bit of a witch, a sage. She has magical powers, and they don't get along, but he offers Maria the chance to atone for her role in his mom's destruction and maybe set that right. So she's like, well, I think we can work together for that aim, right? So they combine their sorcery and Doom's knowledge of science and power and together in an effort to create a device called the Harrower, which will allow him to break into hell and attack hell and finally allow him to lay the beats on hell and all of its minions and set his mom's soul free. So in order to do this, though, he has to go through one more beating at the hands of hell's minions, and in the process use an early prototype, I guess, of the Harrower to rip one of the demon's body parts off. He rips off an arm and bring it back with him in order to study it and unlock more abilities to bring this Harrower device to life. It takes over a year or something like that. It's a long time, this process that they develop the Harrower. And during that time, I forget the guy's name, but basically the former rulers of Latveria before Dr. Doom came along, they were old noble families and stuff like that, who, subjugated their subjects anyway. It's one kind of tyranny over another sort of thing, right? But this descendant wants the rulership of Latveria back, and him and his cell of rebels are always finding ways to undermine Doom and try and finally get at him and destroy him. So they have some plans in action, and their attack coincides with the time when Doom activates the Harrower device, and he's actually in hell doing that stuff. So it's the worst possible time, because then it kind of lets all the demon hordes free in Latveria, and there's a big mess to clean up. So, and that's kind of how things finalize in this big final battle. So, oh yeah, by the way, huge spoiler alerts for everything I do on this channel, if you don't, or this kind of line of vlogs, sorry, in case you didn't figure that out already. So if you want to read these, don't listen to this. Next up, the next book in the Firefly line, called Generations. And this was probably my favorite story so far. The Firefly crew, of course, are between jobs, and it's been a while since they've had work, and they're starting to run low on food. The normal situation aboard Serenity. And Wash comes up with an idea to visit this out-of-the-way planet where this old kind of dubious guy was supposedly his last location, where they think they might be able to hook up with a job from this guy. They get to the planet, or unfortunately they find out this guy has passed, but they settle down in the cantina or the saloon or whatever you want to call it for some games of cards and a few drinks and stuff like that, and a meal before they move on. Mal gets into a game of cards with a few other people, And he kind of sets it up like he feels the players out, loses some hands before he gets the feel of the game, and then finally wins. And from an old timer that's in the game, he wins this weird looking map, but nobody can understand it. So as they're leaving the saloon, one of the girls at the table, as soon as the map came out, she was like, and so Mal has this bad feeling, right? So on their way back to the ship, they get attacked by this lady who's kind of a bounty hunter that works for the Alliance. So Mal's like, oh shit, the Alliance wants this map, great. So they get out of that, they get in the ship, they take off, and as soon as River takes wind of this map, she's like, oh, it's like River's the only one who understands it, and she leads them towards a generation ship, which Firefly, all the people in the Firefly universe have moved outwards into the universe. Earth is long dead, they polluted it, whatever. So 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, whenever it was, when Earth was on its way out, all the people, humanity built all these big generation ships that just moved humanity off of Earth and out into the universe to explore and find a new home, sort of thing. So there's all these generation ships that most of them never reached their homes, where they were their final destinations. A lot did. Some were never heard of again. So this map actually points them towards the Sun Tzu, which is one of these generation ships, and River seems to really have this connection with it. So they finally find it, but they find an Alliance presence in the sector where it is, and when they finally infiltrate the ship amongst a section of wreckage, it almost looks like this wreckage has been engineered, and there's actually new tech and new doors installed in the ship that don't fit with the old tech that the ship was originally built out of. So they're like, something's going on here. And as they penetrate the ship, trying to find all sorts of riches that can keep the crew going for a while, they find out why River has such a connection with the ship. And spoiler alert, again, it's the Alliance did all these experiments on River's head and turned her into the weird kind of person that she is. A guy named Silas is on this ship, and he has engineered this map to finally bring somebody to him to wake him up, because he is the original subject that the Alliance experimented on. So that's why River has this connection with him. But once they find him, they find out he's super, super dangerous, and it's kind of this race to get off the ship and survive and not be a victim of either Alliance soldiers or Silas, sort of thing. So really cool story. I loved kind of the mystery, the history, and then also, of course, the action. So next up, another Marvel one, Rogue, Untouched. This is kind of like Rogue's almost origin story, I guess. She's 18, 19, something like that, in this small town in Louisiana, a couple hours away from New Orleans. I forget the name of it. And she doesn't really know about her powers yet. All she knows is that when she was dating the football high school quarterback, they were fooling around. She kissed him and basically put him into a coma. And so now she's known as like Coma Girl, football killer girl. He didn't die, but he's now a cop. And so she doesn't like to get too close to people and touch them. She's wary about stuff. And she works at this little diner, and she doesn't make much money. Life is really hard. And then one night at the diner, this stranger in sunglasses walks in, kind of good looking, kind of a roguish kind of look to him, and she's kind of intrigued by him. And at the same time, there's these two old ladies that always have been coming in, and they're holding interviews for something. So these two new people in her life that she kind of just glimpses at the diner are going to become very major. That night, this rogue kind of looking guy, she finds getting beat up out beside the diner by two of her old boyfriend's football buddies, who are just basically roid heads and a couple of meatheads, right? And she tries to intervene, but it's not going well until she touches them. And of course, as Rogue does, she absorbs people's power, although she doesn't know it yet. And she basically kicks their asses and saves this guy. And she's like, I can't take him to the hospital, whatever, because I have no car. But she uses his car to take him back to her apartment and kind of recuperates there. And over the next little while, he's kind of really cagey about what he is, but she notices, startlingly, he has these red eyes. And she's like, what the fuck are you? You're a demon, right? So eventually he lets loose that he's actually a mutant, and so is she. And she has this revelation. He goes, look back in your past to certain times when you may have done this or that, knowing that her power is the power of absorption and using people's powers for a limited time after touching them. And she's like, holy shit, I am a mutant. So then all of a sudden, this stranger she wasn't so sure about, and who she was a bit afraid of almost, becomes kind of a bit of a mentor towards her, in a way, and she's also highly attracted to him as well, so which complicates things. In the meantime, the old ladies at the diner, as she goes to work over the next few days or whatever, invite her to be an applicant for this position, and it turns out to be an internship at this company or whatever, this institute that makes you bigger and brighter and better and will, set you off on the right path. But as she finally gets the job and shows up for the interview or whatever, she finds out that it's actually a home for mutants, and this lady's trying to recruit mutants to train them and utilize them for good, sort of thing. So she's got these two new characters in her life that are kind of really steering her down a path now. So as things are becoming kind of more clear to her, and she's starting to get a grasp on, I'm a mutant, I have these powers, this could be kind of cool, I could use this to do all sorts of neat stuff and go to university with the help of this lady or whatever. But then all of a sudden, when she's coming back to the apartment one day, she finds Remy has been tied and gagged up, and that she gets the same thing by, I forget his name, but he's a big kind of almost pig man or something like that. And he's actually a mutant trader, so he takes them back to his hideout and sets up a time to show them to people who want to buy them. And there's all these powerful mutants that show up to possibly peruse the wares and buy them. So before that happens, though, they're in this hideout for quite a while, and they don't know that Rogue's a mutant, so they don't have her collared up and stuff. So she engineers eventually an escape attempt, so it kind of all ends in this battle to get out of this hideout and set everybody free and save the day, sort of thing. And along the way, you learn who the true identity of the old lady that's running the institute, which is kind of cool. And it ends with Rogue kind of making a decision on what she wants to do with her life, which direction she wants to take, sort of thing. So really cool origin story. Because I've always known Rogue, but I haven't known that much about her. So it was kind of cool to see kind of where she came from, sort of thing, how she began. Next up, we watched Godzilla vs. Kong. And it was a really neat movie. I may get a lot of the names wrong because it was kind of complicated. But 5 years after the last movie, I think it is, Kong is still on Skull Island, but he's trapped in this kind of energy dome, and where the team of scientists look over him, and one of the little native girls of the island who's deaf is kind of his friend, and she signs to him, but she knows he's unhappy. He doesn't like being kind of trapped in this dome. Meanwhile, in Florida, an employee of Apex, this technology firm in Pensacola, Florida, has this podcast about what's Apex really up to. Something's going on here. And suddenly one night, Godzilla appears out of the blue and attacks this Apex facility. And in the wreckage, this employee who's on site at the time is like, what the hell is that device, right? All this wreckage uncovers some weird stuff. And he goes on his podcast again. And then the girl that plays 11, or is it 7 or is it 11? It's 11. In Stranger Things, Madison Russell, I think she is in the movie, listens to this guy's podcast and gets in touch with him. She's like, I believe you, like something's going on. So then they go to the facility the next day and investigate it, and eventually they find this network of kind of cars that goes under the ground, and they go to Tokyo or something like that, really on this really high-speed transit, and end up in Apex's facility over there, where they find out the secret Apex has been up to is they're building this kind of mecha Godzilla that's powered by this neural link with one of the son of a former employee or owner that's passed away, or I can't remember what happened in the last movie, but that's the gist of it. In the meantime, the CEO of Apex has approached a scientist named Nathan and a Hollow Earth theoretician about leading an expedition to the Hollow Earth with Kong, because they believe that's the source of the Titans. That's where they come from. So he goes to Eileen, who is the overseer of Kong at the facility on Skull Island, and explains everything. And eventually, things worked out. On the way, Kong gets attacked by Godzilla, so they have to kind of let him free, and he fends Godzilla off, and then they fake like they turn off all the power on the ships and everything, and fake like they've been beaten by him. Godzilla fucks off. And then they eventually make it to the Hollow Earth, where they find kind of Kong's ancestral home, I guess. But in the meantime, while they're down there, up top, Godzilla has attacked the facility where the Mechagodzilla is kept, because the whole reason they wanted this, the head of Apex wanted this Hollow Earth expedition to go, is he wanted to tap into the power of the Hollow Earth to push this Mechagodzilla over the top, because they were having problems with it. It wasn't quite working right, didn't have enough power, and they believe that's the key. So when that happens, Godzilla senses Mechagodzilla and attacks him, and then that's kind of where the whole rest of the movie unfolds in a big battle to see who comes out on top and whatever. So it's more complicated than that, and that's why I'm just kind of going over the basics. But a really good movie. I've really liked the new Godzilla and Kong movies, and I don't know if this will be the last one or if they're going to keep it going, because this is kind of a trilogy, right? They had Godzilla, then they had Kong Skull Island, and now they had Godzilla versus Kong. So I don't know what their plans are, but if they make more, I'm going to watch them, right? Last up, this was technically the 9th season of Power Rangers, and it's called Power Rangers Time Force. It begins in the year 3000 when the Time Force Rangers are set to take in an evil mutant, one of the most powerful mutants, guilty of many crimes, a guy named Rancic. And Rancic engineers an escape at the last minute and then escapes in time back to the year 2001. In the meantime, he also kills the Red Ranger, a guy named Alex. Alex was the fiance of Jen, who's the Pink Ranger of Time Force, and then the other 3 Rangers are Lucas, the Blue Ranger, Trip, the Green Ranger, and Katie, the Yellow Ranger. They decide to go back in time to the year 2001 and go after Rancic and bring him back to 3000 and finish the job they started in the year 3000. Only problem is, when they get back to 2001, their morphers won't unlock because they don't have a full team. So they go to a place called Silver Hills, Silver Lake, something like that, in Washington, where they find a guy named Wes, who is related to Alex in the distant past, and they're able to use him to unlock the Red Morpher. And things don't go well at first, though. He's pumped to be on this team, but Jen, who's all conflicted, has objections to him at first, and the going is not well in the start. So, but as the next little while goes by and the threat is real of Rancic and all the mutants he's releasing, she finally relents, and Wes is added to the team, and after a while they finally become a well-oiled unit, and it's just the same kind of format. Rancic unleashes all these mutants in an attempt to destroy the Rangers. They fight him off, and eventually he runs out of mutants, and they are able to finally go after Rancic himself. And now I can't think of Rancic's daughter's name. God, but there's always a hot, evil lady villain, right? And Rancic's daughter is one of them. And she, over the course of the show, especially near the end, becomes kind of more sympathetic to humans and doesn't know why they're always attacking them. And so she plays a bit of a role in the Rangers' attempt to bring Rancic in and defeat him in the end. And and it's just the standard Power Rangers format, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. That's what I like about that show, is its consistency and its craziness, and it's just straight up bizarreness, right? I love it. My 2 favorite episodes in the series is it's always when they bring back the previous season's Rangers. I love it when they do that. So Lightspeed Rescue comes back, and they join forces with Time Force to fend off the villain who shows up. I forget her. Vipra. She shows up, and they have to come back and defeat her. And then the other one was there was a mutant that Rancic unleashed that was kind of like a movie buff sort of thing. So he trapped the Rangers, each of them in their own, or no, I think Trip and Wes were together in one, but they all were in their own separate kind of movie. So Katie was in like a musical sort of thing. Wes and Trip were in a Western. Jen was in this old kind of kung fu movie, and then Lucas was in a what the hell was he in? Be the hero, get the lady sort of thing, I think it was. And so it was all these different kind of movie scenes that played out over the episode, and they had to defeat this mutant after getting through all these different kind of different worlds almost that were these movie themed kind of adventures. So love it. Like I said, I'll be watching whatever the 10th episode is, or season is. I haven't looked at it yet. I know I have them all, but I haven't looked at it yet because I'm watching something else before I do Power Rangers again. So, but I will be on that eventually, and that'll join the ranks at some point over the next number of months. And that is all for now. 5 things, 5 good things, 5 great things, and soon I'll have 5 more things. So stay tuned. Toodles.